Okay, so here we are once again with another G.I. Joe Classified series unboxing, another one from the Nightforce subset. Been getting a lot of these open lately. And this is David Big Ben Bennett. This is a figure that actually came out last year, and I just finally recently was able to acquire one because they had some back on the Walmart website for retail price. So how could I turn that down? Now, Big Ben is a character that came out in the later part of the Real American Hero line. He was one from the 90s. So a lot of people tended to overlook this character because a lot of people weren't really buying. A lot of the old school fans weren't really buying the GI Joe figures anymore. Most of us had kind of grown out of it, and me, I'd kind of shifted into being an adult collector who is, I was in my teenage years, but I thought I was an adult. And I was still buying GI Joe figures when I saw ones that I thought were pretty cool. Uh, but that meant either mostly it was a really nasty looking Cobra, B, a character that I remembered from the earlier part of the line that got a new edition. Like Snake Eyes, Stalker, Storm Shadow. If I saw a new figure of a character that I recognized, I usually bought them. And C, realistic military type figures, of which Big Ben would have been one of. But I never saw Big Ben. Otherwise, I probably would have bought him. And you can see, you might guess from the name, he's British. He's got a Union Jack flag on his shoulder, which is something he has in common with Quarrel. I wish I'd seen that when I was doing the video. She's got like a little Union Jack underneath the armor piece on her shoulder. It looks really cool. So I would have shown that off in that unboxing video if I'd have seen that at the time. But unfortunately, I didn't see it till after, and I was shooting the thumbnails, and I was like, "Ooh, that's really cool." So yeah, he's got some stuff in common with Coral because they're both British. They're both in Nightforce, and in my mind, Big Ben has always been like a transfer, like a liaison, like an exchange between the British Action Force and the American GI Joe team. So in my mind, at some point, Stalker went over to the United Kingdom and worked with Action Force for a little bit, and he met a young guy named Jammer, and Jammer kind of looked up to Stalker quite a bit, and even grew a mustache to look like Stalker as much as he could. So that's why those two guys look so much alike. Don't ask me about Gung Ho and Gaucho. I haven't figured that one out yet. But here we got the picture of the figure and the layout of his accessories, and there are some familiar accessories in here that I've opened up in other figures. But since I haven't gotten this guy yet, I haven't actually had the original versions of the accessories. I'm pretty sure that all three of these weapons would have originally come with Big Ben. So let's go ahead and open him up. He is figure number 77, by the way. There's a really nice portrait of Big Ben along the side there. They really managed to make him look like a Brit, I think. I don't know like what it is about that face, but to me, he really does look like a British person. Oh, bugger all! Bangers, beans, and mash! That looks like it's been taped twice. I hope that doesn't mean that that somebody repacked this and sent it back in. Otherwise, this is going to be a very unusual unboxing episode. So, yep, sure enough, there's Big Ben, and he looks awesome. And we're going to set him aside for now. And this is, since it is an older figure that came out last year, it does have the older plastic-free style of packaging that we don't see anymore, thankfully. But I keep getting older figures that I never managed to get last year, so we might as well get caught up on them. David Big Ben Bennett, again, number 77. And we got the Foot Locker here. And the Foot Locker, of course, has the paper envelope with all the accessories and the legalese mumbo jumbo sheet that we never pay any attention to. Let's go ahead and open up our paper envelope and see what accessories that we have. All right. Just going to dump this over here on my mouse pad very carefully because I don't want to lose anything. All right. So we have three weapons. We have a rifle and a machine gun and a little submachine gun. It looks like my machine gun got a little bent up when it was in that bag, so hopefully some heat will fix that when I get around to fixing that later. And this is this same machine gun again, by the way, the one that came with a Shockwave, if you recall, the Nightforce Shockwave. That's the same machine gun. It's just in different colors, and I didn't notice it at the time because it's molded in black. But this bipod actually extends. I didn't notice it on this one because, like I said, they're both molded in black, so it looked like it was just all the same plastic. But on Big Ben's version, uh, Big Ben's machine gun, as you can see, is molded in a gray plastic, and the bipod is molded in a an olive green shade of plastic. So that's what made that apparent to me. We got the ammo right here, just like what Shockwave's machine gun came with. And it's got a little peg, little slot, fits together like so. And there we go. There's Big Ben's machine gun, which in my version, that's going to be his main weapon since the original Big Ben figure came with a machine gun. And he had a machine gun ammo strapped around his chest, but in this one, it looks more like it's almost like less ammo belts like what Rock and Roll has, and almost more sort of like just like separate bullets on a bandolier. If that makes any sense. All right, so then we have this rifle, and I've talked about this rifle before. I like this rifle. I've had it a couple of times with the front grip that folds out, and I had seen some people be critical of the fact that it has double barrels on it, but that never really bothers me because yeah, it's GI Joe. It can have some fantasy elements to it. So this is some kind of experimental double-barreled rifle that they're trying out. So that's fine with me. So, and then of course it has the magazine which fits in there, which I did not lose. It did not fall on the floor. And last but not least, this is an accessory that I'm really happy to have. Is again, it's the same little submachine gun, little Mac 10 looking gun that came with Nightforce Shockwave. And remember how I was saying I'd like to get another one of these to give to my regular Shockwave? Well, that's what's happening with this one. Because, Big Ben's already got a rifle and a machine gun, and I figure he doesn't really need this little submachine gun. It's a nice accessory to have, and I'm glad he has it, especially because, like I said, I'm going to give mine to Shockwave. But it does seem like the suppressor is kind of tight to go on there. I don't want to take a chance on that getting bent up, so I'm gonna see what I can do with that later. But yeah, that's gonna go to Shockwave. One accessory that's missing from this, and I noticed that a lot of modern day GI Joe figures tend to neglect this. Hello, Lone Dragon. Welcome to the show. A lot of these classified figures are starting to neglect backpacks. And of course, backpacks were something that I thought was like one of the cooler accessories on the vintage GI Joe figures. The way they just kind of pegged into the back, and of course, modern GI Joe figures they kind of peg into the back. So, but for whatever reason, they tend to be forgotten these days. They tend to not show up as much as I feel like they should. So I'm just pointing that out as something that I'd like to see more of. So Big Ben looks to have a lot of pieces that I'm not overly familiar with. His bicep swivel is a straight cut, and that's unusual on these figures. Usually they at least have like a little bit of a curve to it, so it looks a little more natural when you turn the bicep. But no, his has a straight cut. And he's got this winter coat that's all sculpted in. He's got this the long the tail of the coat hanging out under the belt. All of that is like a soft rubber piece, so hopefully that won't interfere with his articulation too much. Maybe he will wind up keeping this submachine gun because it looks like that's what this holster is for, since he doesn't have any other kind of pistol, and it does fit in there very nicely. So I don't see a separate piece for the suppressor, but oh look, there's a little loop for it on the back of his belt, so we can store his suppressor that way. So maybe I will let him wind up keeping that after all. But if I can get another one for cheap, I'm going to give that one Shockwave. If last time I looked on the Walmart website, these were going for like $30 again, and that's what I'd been seeing them for anytime I see them selling online, and like $30 wasn't too much. I figured to pay for this guy, it's not much more than retail, and he did look like a really cool figure to me, so I really did want to pick him up, but. $30 is still $30. So I wasn't real. I was hoping maybe I'd see him for retail price once again, and I did eventually. But it might not be a bad idea to go ahead and pick up another one for $30 before he gets too expensive. I don't know. If you don't have him already, I'd go ahead and pick him up. That's what I'm saying. So yeah. You can see also there's a little pouch back here. Yeah, that one right there, and that looks like that will hold the ammo for the for this puppy. But I don't see really any place to store this rifle itself, and that would be another reason it would be good to give him a backpack, because then he could have a rifle to. And it's not like they had to give him a new backpack. They could have just given him like a recolored version of Outback's backpack, and I think that. That would have been fine for most people. And thankfully, I was able to get a few extra Tiger Force Outbacks when they were cheap at Ross last year. So I've got extra Outback backpacks, so I can give him one, and that's a good thing. But I really feel like they really should have included that as like a another accessory for Big Ben. He's already got like a good complement of accessories, so I don't really want to be like harping on it too much, but I really do feel like that backpack would have taken it over the top as far as like cool accessories go. So the last accessory we need to talk about is this gas mask, which is actually on a separate head. And unusually for a G.I. Joe figure, we've seen this before, like with the Action Marine, but it looks like the head is meant to be removable at the base of the neck rather than the base of the head, because the neck is actually a separate part on this gas mask piece. And even though it looks like the gas mask is a separate piece of plastic, it's not removable. It's solidly on there. So we can put in case he's got a chemical weapon attack, he can pull this hood over his head and put on the gas mask, and that would be kind of airtight in there. It's a really cool head. I like it. So, and also it's the sort of thing where like if you wanted to get like a bunch of these guys, you could army build them and just have a bunch of like gas mask troops. Maybe take the bandoliers off of them if you feel like that's a little bit too recognizable as far as Big Ben goes. He does have it looks like the symbol that we've seen on a lot of these Nightforce figures so far. I happen to have Shockwave nearby, so we can see it on the Shockwave with the Griffin over the planet Earth. It's not on all of them because I didn't see it on Wolf Spider. So, but I think Wolf Spider was the first Nightforce figure they put out, so they just might not have figured out to do that yet. I don't know. So anyway, we're gonna pop this gas mask head back off of him. It does pop on rather easily. Pops off rather easily, so you can get it on and off really easily. And I do again love this head sculpt. It's got a lot of character to it. He's got like this really stern expression on his face. And you can see he's got like the face camo paint, like how the original figure had. Always a nice detail. I already pointed out the Union Jack. I really like that Union Jack, and a lot of good detail to this guy. There are a lot of parts to him, like I said, that I think are original and look like that they have not been reused from anything else. I don't recognize where these legs are from, although they might be. They've got like if it is from the Stalker / Lieutenant Falcon body, it's got a different knee pad, but I can't really tell looking at the. No, it's not. It's definitely not the same lower legs. As that means it's probably not the same upper legs either. I think the pocket looks like it sticks out a little bit more than on those legs. So this might be an entirely original figure, like all new parts, and that's pretty cool. You don't see that very often. So let's go ahead and have a look at him with some of these accessories. So first we'll put this rifle in his hand. And also, I think kind of part of the criticism for this rifle that I'd seen recently, it had to do with the fact that like they're like, oh, we've seen this one so much, and honestly, I hadn't seen it very often at all. That's partially because I missed out on this guy. Now, one problem with this one in particular is it seems like the foldable front grip it doesn't seem to want to stay in very well. I think it's just because of the way it was packaged. So I'm just going to take it out and set it aside so I don't lose it. And we'll just have him grip the front of the rifle like normal. I do like the foldable front grip, and it worked a lot better on the other version of this that I had. But unfortunately, like I said, this one, it just seems like it just doesn't want to stay on there. All right, so there he is holding that rifle. He looks pretty cool with it, but honestly, I think it looks a little small in the hands of Big Ben, which, you know, as you might guess from the name, he's a bigger guy. He's pretty stocky. Let's see how he measures up to an average character in terms of height. And you can see that he does indeed stand a little bit taller than Shockwave if we line both of the soles of their feet up. But if we compare him to a larger figure, how's he going to stack up against, say, Bazooka, who I happen to have right here as well? And he's almost as tall as Bazooka, just about as tall as Bazooka. Probably about as tall if he didn't have a if he didn't have a hat and Bazooka didn't have a helmet. And I'm fishing around over here because I know I have Roadblock over here somewhere, and I ran across my Ra's al Ghul figure whose head popped off, so I'm going to pop that back on right quick. Because we don't want to lose his head. Your head is one of your most important parts of your body, because that's where you keep your brain. And you want to make sure that you have a brain and use it. All right, so here we'll have him next to Roadblock. And I think Roadblock is like just a little bit taller than Bazooka. So you can see Roadblock is just a little bit taller than Big Ben. But Roadblock is like superhumanly large. So there's no shame in that, Big Ben. You're still big. You're just not Roadblock big. And that's okay. There's nobody else is Roadblock big, except maybe Road Pig. But Road Pig is just a freak anyway. It's like, all right. So we'll set that aside, and we'll move on to what's going to be, like I said, the weapon that I'm going to keep on my Big Ben for display, and that's this machine gun. And it's not exactly like the machine gun that came with the original Big Ben figure back in the 80s, but I feel like it's close enough, and I like a lot of the elements of it. I like the the ammo box and all that kind of stuff. And it is, like, even for a big guy like him, it's a pretty big machine gun, but we can get him to hold it pretty well, I think. Kind of bending up the stock of it a little bit, but oh well. So I'm going to fold down the bipod, and I'm just going to have him hold the front of the bipod a little bit. I think that's going to be better than having him hold the front of the machine gun. And I'm definitely going to have to apply some heat to that machine gun and get it to not be quite as droopy there. So, but he looks cool. I like him with the machine gun. Unfortunately, like I said, the stock doesn't quite want to fit into the crook of his arm quite right. You have to kind of bend it up a little bit. But he still looks really cool. I'm really happy with Big Ben. He turned out really nice. Like I said, he's a figure that a character from the original GI Joe line that I feel like gets a little overlooked because of the time period in which he came out in. But those of us who were still buying figures in the 90s, we know this guy and how cool he was. And he did get a lot of love. Damn, I did drop that stock. Oh, well, it's just gone. It's not going to stay on there anyway, so I don't care. It's fine without the stock. So he's a character that if you were buying GI Joe figures in the early part of the 2000s, you probably know this guy pretty well because that mold did get reused a lot. In the let's see, the original Big Ben came out in 1991. There was the international mail away version that came out in 1993. There was an Arctic version that came out in 2000, and then there were two more versions that came out in 2002 and another one in 2003, and then he finally got a 25th anniversary edition in 2015, and then this guy, the classified version. So it's one of those things where if you know who he is, you know he's cool, and if you don't know who he is, well, get to know him because he's awesome. So, like I said, to me, I kind of feel like he came up from Action Force and transferred to the GI Joe team at some point. And they probably have like exchanges between members so they can learn each other's tactics and things like that, and he can you know, teach the GI Joes what they've been doing in Action Force lately, and he can learn from the GI Joes what they've been doing to combat Cobra or the Red Shadows or whoever. So even though he was an American like a character created in America, he is a British character. So I kind of adopt him into Action Force, and like I said, Quarrel I kind of feel like has a similar role in the GI Joe team. Since she is in Nightforce, she must be a Joe, you know, in addition to being in Action Force. So you can have characters move back and forth between the factions, and I think that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and before we end this episode, we'll talk about his articulation somewhat. So Big Ben can look up that far, he can look down that far, he can tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. The arms, of course, rotate all the way around the shoulders. He does have butterfly joints, which moves back about that far and forward about that far, and seem like they actually even move up a little bit. Those are some good butterfly joints. He does have, like I pointed out before, have a bicep swivel. Unfortunately, it's just a straight cut, so it looks kind of awkward, but it does rotate all the way around. We got double jointed elbows. That's about the extent of motion we get at elbows. He's got wrists that rotate all the way around, and both of them appear to have, well, no, this one, unusual. Usually, it'll be the right wrist that has a vertical hinge and the left wrist that has a horizontal hinge. But in this case, we got the horizontal hinge on the right wrist and the vertical hinge on the left wrist. So maybe he's a southpaw. Maybe that's what they're trying to imply to us. Which, if that's the case, he probably would have been better off having the holster on his left leg. But whatever. That's a problem vintage GI Joe figures have all the time. Is all these figures have, a lot of them have holsters on the left leg, and it's like, geez, how many of these guys are left-handed? Anyway, he does not. Oh no, wait, there it is. I see it. It's just hidden really well. He does have an ab crunch, so that bends back down that far, back about that far, rotates all the way around at the waist. He's got that kind of GI Joe classified waist articulation where you can move it around to some extent. Very similar to an old O-ring articulation, but it's not an O-ring, it's a ball in a socket. Big Ben can kick up only about that far on his right leg, and that's because of the hem of the jacket and this pouch on his leg. It's getting kind of caught up there. Let's see if, yeah, we can get about 90 degrees out of the other leg, so that's good. Lone Dragon says Alley Vipers have that stupid gun that can only really go left-handed. Maybe all the Alley Vipers are left-handed. Maybe that is a requirement for joining the Alley Vipers. Like, you have to be elite, you have to be the best of the best, and you have to be left-handed. Or ambidextrous. Maybe they can be ambidextrous. Who knows? So, anyway, he does have a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around. He's got double jointed knees. That is about the extent of the motion you get at the knees, so pretty good range of motion at the knees. He does have a boot cut, so the boot rotates all the way around. He's got rocker ankles that point down about that far, point up, but they can't use it at all because the shield goes on the left. Well, as we say on Earth, c'est la vie. But yeah, and then the ankle, of course, rotates all the way around. It's just on that rocker ankle. So that is the articulation we got for Big Ben. I'm really happy with how this figure turned out. I do think it's funny that like both of the British characters they've introduced into G.I. Joe are Walmart exclusives. And I don't know how easily a person in the UK can get a Walmart exclusive. I don't know if you guys can, if anybody from the UK is watching this, I don't know if you guys can even order stuff on the Walmart website, or if maybe they managed to ship that over to you guys through some other store exclusive. I don't know, like Bigham's or Wiggum's or Mr. Haversham's or whatever kind of stores you guys have over there. I've never been to England, so maybe one day I would like to go to hop across the pond one day, visit merry old England. I think that would be fun. Maybe do that around Christmas and see a lot of the stuff like Charles Dickens would have wrote about back then. I know a lot of those buildings are still standing, so that would be really cool. I would, especially as a big fan of Sherlock Holmes, like to go see the actual 221B Baker Street, which apparently was not a real address at the time, but is now, and they've got like a gift shop there. I'd like to go see that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Big Ben. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Big Ben, both the figure and the character in general. Let me know what you think about some of the vintage Big Ben figures and what you think of those. I think tomorrow I'm going to continue with my G.I. Joe and open up Stalker. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I think after that, I'm going to move on to Superpowers because, well, let me think. Tomorrow's Friday, then Saturday. Okay, so I will open up. I will, unless my big bad toy store shows up tomorrow, and I doubt that it will. I'll open up one DC Multiverse figure, and then next week is going to be a Superpowers week, and then the week after that we'll do some Batman 66 because I've got a lot of Superpowers to open. I've got a lot of Batman 66 to open since I got that last big bad toy store shipment. I got a lot of those to open. I got a lot of DC Multiverse stuff to open. But I'm waiting on more DC Multiverse. So let's see. I've got something coming from my cousin Amy that was her Christmas present. You know, the Big Ben, there's Parliament. That'd be me over in England, stuck in the roundabout. But yeah, maybe I might do DC Multiverse next week if the thing that my cousin Amy got me shows up, since I'm really excited about that. So we're just going to play it as it lies. Tomorrow, though, I'll go ahead and open up Stalker. We'll go ahead and plan on that. And we'll just see what happens on Saturday as far as that goes. Anyway, thanks for watching. We will talk to you next time. Bye.